I'm here with Colton Vaughn at MMA Hardcore. Colton, just wanted to let the fans know a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I've started wrestling when I was a junior for Todd Katie with the Columbia Wrestling Program. I'm sure most of you guys in Idaho know that program is pretty successful. Back in the day, I'm pretty young, but I had a lot of rage growing up, and Coach Katie kind of brought that rage out of me, gave me a vent through wrestling, and built a lot of character that I needed, a lot of structure in my life. I wrestled through high school, did fairly well. We won a state championship as a team, and after high school, I had multiple scholarships, which I was dumb about and didn't jump on. And I'm sure Coach Katie's smiling right now if he heard that. But then after the scholarships, I really didn't know what to do with my life. I was working a full-time job, just weightlifting, bulking up, because you got to get a good body for the ladies, and I really just didn't know what to do with myself. So I finally hooked up with a smaller gym and started doing some MMA training. I really wanted to fight. I had a lot of rage in me still, and then they finally got me my first fight. It was a 3-round war. I thought it was the most brutal, most craziest fight of my life. It was 3 rounds. Ended up with a knockout in the last 17 seconds of the 3rd round. I came out of that fight and hands shaking. I threw up. I finally realized what it was like to be in something so chaotic, and it made me really question whether I wanted to continue. Sure enough, a week later, I was back at the training, and just busted my butt off. Finally got my second fight, which came to a 30-second knockout against Juan Arecha, I think his name is, and then I was hooked. This is all I wanted to do. I continued fighting till I was 19 years old, and I accumulated a 7-1 record, with 1 loss being my 4th fight for a belt in Montana. That was a big learning experience for me, my only loss that I've ever experienced, and it kind of opened my eyes. What was I doing wrong? I didn't have my trainers and my coaches in my corner because unfortunately they weren't able to make it. They had other people for me to corner me, but I didn't trust the guys, so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to bring my dad and my mom and my girlfriend with me, and we went down there completely undistracted. My mom was saying a lot. It was just, I couldn't focus, and I ended up fighting. I almost beat the guy a couple times, and he overtook me because I just wasn't there in the head, and I took off about 2 months after that to kind of reevaluate who I was as a athlete and what I should do. Finally got hooked up with Combat Fitness, started working with them, and then got a couple fights, and just wasn't going anywhere really, and I couldn't make it to practices. I had a few things happen to me in my life that mostly myself making mistakes, and I learned from them, but I couldn't make it to practice anymore. So I finally talked to Gabe Miranda, who's a really good friend of mine. His little brother actually wrestled with me, and he's a professional athlete, and he kind of set me up for 6 months just working my boxing in the garage, because my boxing was terrible. And he finally, after about 6-7 months of hard training in the garage with a bunch of Mexican boxers, most awesome Josh, forgot his last name, but if you guys are ever around me, you guys will know who Josh is. He's the most awesome boxing coach you guys can find. And Gabe, and they just sat there and just drilled, getting all my hard muscle. It was all about power. Now it's all about speed. And he finally brought me to Brandon Chewy with Team Hardcore, and had me spar with their guys to show off how good my stand-up has gotten. And then ever since then, Brandon and Team Hardcore pretty much just adopted me. I really didn't have anywhere to go except for that garage, and they just took me in as their own, and Brandon's been getting me fights left and right now. All my fights with Brandon have been pro, and he's always been there in my corner. He's always talked to me. He knows exactly how to prepare me for my fights. And so far, you know, he's taken me to that next level. I got my last 3 fights. He was there and got a nice 2 submission wins. My first 2 fights, one against Ryan Wagner and one against Andrew Nelson. And we're trying to build up my who I am, you know, get people excited. People like to see the knockout. So we went down to California on a last-second opportunity, and we took care of business there. And it was a new experience for me. I never traveled that far, and had to fight a hometown hero from that far away, and someone that I guess put me as an underdog. I never see myself as an underdog. I always see myself as a top athlete, but apparently I was an underdog there, and Brandon was there the whole time talking to me, make sure I was good, and we did lots of research together. He was always there finding videos for me, finding all sorts of, like, he fought this guy, this is what we should do. Perfect strategist on how to fight, and we had our fight, won the fight. Now I signed this contract with Tony King at the Rage in the Cage 5, and I can't find anything on Tony King, and I'm not worried about it, which is kind of weird. Usually I like to know everything about my opponent. I like to know, I stalk my opponent like crazy. I mean, he's like the girl that I want to meet and be with forever, and I'm Facebooking, looking on the internet, everything, and I can't find anything about him, and usually that would mess with my head, but at this point in my career, I got to know that I'm ready for anything, you know? It doesn't matter what his style is. I gotta know in my head that I can take care of that. I can stand up and bang, which I really hope happens in this fight. I hope he's confident enough to stand up and bang with me, and I proved multiple times that going on the ground is not a safe place for my opponents. So if he's willing to stand up, that would be awesome. If he comes at me with really good stand up, then I know that my groundwork will take care of it. I'll take him down and do me, you know what I mean? And we'll see how the fight goes. You know, I really hope that I remain undefeated, because obviously that's the fastest way to point A to point B on where I want to go, which is Strikeforce and UFC opportunity. As to who I am as a person, I'm a hard-driven, ridiculously motivated young athlete that wants to go somewhere big, and Brandon Shuey and Team Hardcore helps me do that.